I have reviewed over 100 data science and machine learning resumes, both as a practitioner in the field and also as a career coach. And to be brutally honest, most of them kind of suck. It's actually not that hard to write a really good resume, yet many people seem to not even get the basics right. So in this video, I want to walk you through my resume and landed me multiple 100k job offers, both in data science and machine learning, and offer my main bits of advice for every section. Let's get into it. If you don't want to watch this whole video, then on screen here is my resume template, both in PDF format generated in LaTeX and also in Google Doc format. And if you want this resume template, then see the link in the description below where you can download it, and I'll walk you through a short video about how to use it. Now, the reason I have two versions, you might be asking, is that the first version, which is the PDF document generated in LaTeX, which is like a typesetting software, just looks really clean and just looks really nice. The problem is PDF documents have like problems with the application tracking system, or the ATS, as you may have heard of it. Whereas the Google Doc format is a lot more ATS friendly. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what the ATS is, it's basically an automated system that matches how well your resume aligns with the job description. Now, like any system, it has flaws, right? And one of those flaws is that certain formats, like PDF, can be problematic depending on the type of software they use. This ATS software system, whatever you call it, is used by pretty much every single Fortune 500 company. And there's a statistic somewhere saying that 75% of resumes don't even make it past the ATS, like scanning criteria. And so if I know my resume is going to be seen by a physical person, like a recruiter or hiring manager, I give them the PDF version in LaTeX or Overleaf, whatever you want to call it. I'll explain that in a second. But if I know my resume is not going to be seen by a physical person on things like Indeed, job boards, LinkedIn Quick Apply, it's the Google Doc version because it's a lot more friendly to the ATS system. And this just removes any problems the ATS system may have with scanning my PDF. And so, that kind of matching by the system won't be a problem if you're using Google Doc. So that's why I have two versions, and I also recommend that you also have two versions as well for this process. Anyway, let's now get into my actual resume, and I'll break down every single section and the exact things that you need. Here, I'm going to break down all the general principles that your resume needs, and it must meet all of them. Number one is absolutely no spelling mistakes or grammar errors. It's a massive red flag, and there's literally no excuse for this. Number two, keep it one page unless you have like 10 plus years experience that is relevant to the job, but one page is normally more than sufficient for the majority of people. Number three, make sure you have consistent font sizes across sections, and also limit the use of bolding your text and also italicization. Number four, avoid any fancy formatting. Limit the number of colors. Don't use 2 columns. Just keep it really, really simple. Almost like stupid. That's how simple you should keep it. Number five, no graphics, no images, no emojis, no photos, just nothing like that. I know in some countries or markets, sometimes adding a photo of yourself can be useful, or some people want it. I'm speaking specifically in the UK, Europe and US market. You shouldn't have a photo of yourself on your resume. It also just takes up space. So again, just keep it really simple. None of these fancy things. Just allow your resume and your achievements and skills to speak for themselves. Number six, just use bullet points. No block text. Bullet points in your skill section, in your experience, in your project, in your education, just bullet points everywhere, because it allows the recruiter to read it really easily, and that's exactly what you want. Number seven, for your Google Doc format, make sure you use a really easy to read font like Times New Roman, Calibri, Georgia. Just again, keep it really simple and a font that is like I said, easy to read for anyone. Number eight, for your PDF version, I really recommend that you use LaTeX, and the software or platform that you can use this for is Overleaf. And number nine, and probably the most important, if you have time, and to be honest, you should really make time for this, make sure you tailor your resume to every single job description or job role that you apply for. It shouldn't take you more than an hour, but this is kind of like the best bang for your buck that you'll get when building a resume, as long as you have everything else in check. This section is unbelievably easy to get right. I'm surprised people even get it wrong. In your header, you should have your name, the job title that you are or like looking to be, or how you define yourself, your contact details, email and phone number. Even then, you don't really need the phone number. Number 4, your location and city. And number 5, any relevant links for that is relevant to the job. So GitHub, LinkedIn, Kaggle, your portfolio, wherever it may be. The main thing here, and I see people made this mistake in the past, make sure your links actually work. The number of times that I've clicked on someone's CV and clicked on one of their links and it's broken is unbelievable. Like, surely you want, if someone clicks on those links, and they very rarely do, you want them to go somewhere where you can showcase your skills even more. If your resume is very clear on what you do and who you are, then you don't really need the summary statement, to be honest. For example, I've never had one in any resume that I've done, and I don't think it's affected me at all. However, if you're looking to transition jobs, or you want to be a bit more clear of what you're trying to do, or even if you're trying to game the ATS a little bit, then having a summary statement is not an awful idea. However, people often get it really wrong. They use words like hardworking, passionate. I mean, everyone says this, right? So don't do that. Just keep it really simple. Again, really, really simple is the key for any resume, and just state explicitly who you are and what you've done. For example, if I was going to do a summary statement for my resume, this is what I'd write. Data scientist / machine learning engineer with 4+ years experience, specializing in time series forecasting, operations research / optimization problems, and applied machine learning. Domain expertise lies in insurance, supply chain, and logistic business areas from the various companies I've worked in. No fluff, straight to the point, 2 sentences. That's all you need, so take that as inspiration. This is a very brief summary of all your technical skills. The reason I have this right at the top is that it allows a recruiter to quickly see if your technical abilities align perfectly with what they want on their job description or the role they're hiring for. Now, I often see candidates make really big errors and really big red flags in this section without even realizing. Let me break down the 3 biggest ones that I see. Number 1 is that for some reason, people list every single technology they know under the sun. They know Python, SQL, R, Rust, C++, C, assembly, Go, like 10 programming languages. Now, if you're a junior or entry-level data scientist or machine learning engineer, there's no way you know all those languages. I'm sorry, you don't. If you are, you're a unicorn and you're probably a genius, and you're definitely not watching this video because you've probably worked at some startup or you have a startup, right? So like, don't do that. If, for example, you know or you had experience with certain languages, that's fine. But the way I kind of have a criteria for whether you should add this language on your resume is that if you can answer a easy leak code problem in that programming language, then you probably know it to a decent standard. If you can't, and you've done like 1 course on it, don't add it in. The second one is very similar to the first, but when you're listing your coding abilities, stick to language like proficient in or experience with. Don't say your Python is 4 out of 5 or you're an advanced user. I mean, what does 4 out of 5 even mean? And what really is an advanced user? The problem with doing these type of ranking metrics for your programming skills is that you're kind of setting an expectation. Like, if you tell me you're advanced in Python, then I expect you to absolutely smash all the hard problems on leak code because you're advanced, right? Chances are you probably can't do that. So stick to proficient with or experience with. This is what I do in my resume. I say I'm proficient in Python, SQL, and I've had experience with Fortran, things like HTML, CSS, LabVIEW, and I'm also currently learning Rust. And even that's probably a bit too much. But again, it's like very small and I'm very specific of what I say I'm comfortable with. So again, just stick to language like proficient with and experience with. That's all you need. And the third one is that when you're doing the tech stack kind of section, as you see on my resume here, don't add in all the packages you know. If you're applying for a data scientist job, or machine learning job. I assume you know Matplotlib, NumPy, Pandas. Like, you must know these, right? You're applying for a job. You have experience with them. It's just a given in my head. I know you can argue that you can gain the ATS kind of using this knowledge, but to be honest, it's not really needed, because you can add those later on in your experience section, which I'll discuss later. But you don't need to add every single package you've worked with, because it's overkill. List relevant technologies like Git, Jenkins, AWS, Databricks, orchestration tools like Argo, Metaflow, things like that, like actual tools and software that not everyone would have worked with, because that's what sets you apart. The most important part here is to list explicitly what you did, how you did it, and back it up with numbers and figures where possible. In fact, you should always back it up with numbers and figures, because it actually shows that you think about the problem in a financial, business, like actual metric moving manner, which is really important. For example, notice how in my resume, I always start with some sort of technology or algorithm, like XGBoost or Remo. I then say that I was trying to predict this, model this, forecast this. So essentially I'm tying my mathematical machine learning knowledge to the business problem I was trying to solve. I then say this is the metric I improved on the model, performance, whatever it may be. And finally, I tie that all up to the financial or business metric or business value that I generated. And that is exactly what you want to do. You want to link your mathematical knowledge, like the machine learning, data science, stats knowledge you have, to the business impact. Because ultimately, you're measured on how much value you can generate for the business, not the type of model you built. To do this, I recommend you follow the following framework when you're writing any bullet points in your experience section. You should first state what you are analyzing, predicting, or modeling. Then state the technologies, algorithms, and statistical tools that you used. Then state the metrics you improved, and finally state the business impact that you generated. Those 4 things is how you should write every single bullet point in your experience section, and literally it will blow recruiters away, because they'll finally have someone who understands how to tie machine learning skills and data science skills to business impact. And that's literally all they want to see. I'm telling you this from first-hand experience. Now, if you don't have much work experience and you're, say, just graduating from university, your experience section will be replaced by the project section. And to be honest, for your project section, it's written very similar to experience. You want to state what you're trying to do, what type of technology you're using, and what is the impact. Obviously, for projects, it's really hard to tie back to business and financial metrics, which I totally understand. But the other 3 bullet points, or the other 3 bullet points from the framework, you can easily do. But if you want more guidance on this, feel free to tell me, and I'm happy to make another video or just have a coaching call with you if you want to understand how to, improve your project section if you're lacking that real world experience. Now, for education, it also really depends on where you are on your journey. For example, I have over 4+ years experience, so my education section is really simple with just my university, degree, and my grade. I keep it in my resume because many data science jobs require a master's in a STEM subject, and so I need to show that to meet that criteria on my resume. Now, if you have just graduated university or college, haven't got much experience, then your resume or your education section on your resume can be a bit more filled out. So you can add things like relevant projects, hackathons, just anything that's a bit more, like I said, relevant to the job you're applying for, and you can flesh it out a bit because you need to showcase more experience because you lack real world experience. So this one is a bit controversial, and I'm actually in the minority of people that think having a hobbies, extracurricular, or like an additional information section is kind of needed. Most of the coaches I've also worked with, like data science and machine learning coaches, say that it's a bit pointless adding this in. Now, I actually disagree, and this is something like I'm not like hellbound by it, but I think having extra information on your resume shows that you're not just some sort of data science or machine learning robot. I mean, obviously you don't need to list that you, for example, like to swim on the weekends, but for example, my scenario, this is why I add information about my YouTube channel, blog posts, coaching, So all these things are relevant to the job I'm applying for, but they kind of don't really belong anywhere else. So I add them at the bottom. Obviously, I have my links to YouTube and blog posts at the top, but this is kind of the place they go. So if you also have something that is relevant to the job, that is, maybe you do hackathons, maybe you do Kaggle competitions, or like again, you code up an app in your spare time. Like, all these things are kind of like extracurricular activities you do that are relevant to the job you're applying for. Feel free to add them. But by no means is this section compulsory. And if I was struggling for space, it'll be a first thing to go. So earlier in the video, I discussed that if you haven't got any work experience, you should replace that section with a project section. But what type of projects actually help you land jobs? Well, that's the exact question I answered in one of my previous videos that I'll link on screen here that you can check out. I'll see you there.